everyone, welcome back to my channel. Goodness me, it has been quite a while. It's been a month since I came on and spoke to you last, and a lot has happened, a lot has changed, and I thought I would talk to you about our birth story because we have, since I spoke to you last time, we have had a beautiful baby girl called Lily. I will get her to show you, but she's asleep in her Moses basket at the moment, so I don't want to disturb her, but I will disturb her before the end of this video and you can have a little look. And yeah, I think the last time I spoke to you, I was talking through the whole breech issue we had with her. At 37 weeks, we went for a scan and she was breech. I will link that video down below if anybody would want to watch it, and if you have a breech baby and want to know your options, there's a little bit of information in that video about those things, so you might find that useful, so I'll link that below. Yeah, so we were 37 weeks and we were breech and we were booked in, I think that Friday actually that I filmed the video, for a C-section. Ah, goodness me. This little baba had different plans and different ideas. We got in, I think we left about we left at 7 o'clock in the morning-ish. Everything was planned. Holly's day was planned out. My mum and dad were dropping her at nursery and picking her up. We would come home with a little baby, whether that be that night or the following night. Everything was planned. Hospital bag was ready, done. It was the weirdest feeling in the world, leaving the house with not in any pain, no contractions, no nothing, going into the hospital to have a baby. Honestly, it was so strange. We had to leave quite early. We left at 7 o'clock because at 7:30 they want you in no later than 7:45, I think. So we left quite early. We were at the hospital for I think 7:45. We were put in down at the bottom of the delivery ward, I think that's what they call it, or the birthing centre, and there were 4 of us. So was there 4? No, there were 3. Sorry, there were 3 couples in there. Me and Chris and another 2 couples who were having planned C-sections that day. I think another lady's baby was breech, and then one other lady had a really big baby before, so she was booked in for a planned C-section because they thought this baby might have been big as well. So yeah, we were gowned up. We had the anaesthetist come around and talk us through what was going to happen. The midwife came and spoke with us, gave us all of our gowns. Chris got all gowned up. I got all in my shebang. And the surgeon came around and the surgeon spoke to us about what was going to happen. And then he said, but we're just going to scan you before we go into theatre, just to make sure that baby hasn't turned back around again. So they, you know what's coming, don't you? They brought the machine, the scanning machine in, and they scanned, and he was like, oh yeah, no, this baby's turned. So midwife came in and had a chat with us, and she brought an older, more experienced midwife with her as well. And they kind of gave us 2 options, really. They said we can go ahead with the C-section if we wanted to, because they understand that it's, you know, a bit of a head, not going to swear, mess up, that you come in thinking you're going home with your baby and then actually you don't. So they understand that. They understand that Holly was obviously sorted with my mum, everything was planned, but their main message was if there is no need for a C-section, then they prefer not to do it, and it's major surgery. And yeah, if you can birth your baby naturally, they will always go with that option. So I was a little bit in 2 minds. I had a big old cry. My emotions were all over the place. And I think for the first time probably ever since knowing Chris, he was pretty adamant in what he wanted. Now, I don't want people to at me going, what do you mean what he wanted? It's not his body, blah, blah, blah. But he was exactly what I needed him to be at that point. You know, we just read on the complications for a C-section that if you have a C-section, the baby is more likely to be obese and asthmatic. Now, I am already obese and I am already asthmatic. So that would have been extra risks on top of that I wasn't keen on. So Chris was a bit like, look, if we can have this baby naturally, let's do it. He said there's no there's no real reason to have this C-section. The only reason in my head was I didn't want a Christmas Day baby. Isn't that awful? That's really bad. It sounds awful me saying it, actually. And he was like, that's on the bottom of my priority list. I think he was a bit scared of me having a surgery for a C-section. And also we have a 3-year-old, so the recovery from a C-section is huge and would have been massive with Holly at home. So in the end we decided, no, we're not going to have the C-section, we're going to go home. So we did. We went home, came home without our baby. Holly was a little bit totally confused and upset, bless her. But from that minute on, I felt more relaxed than I had ever felt in my whole pregnancy. So in my head, I knew that it was the right decision. I knew that birthing her naturally was going to be the right decision for us. So we then had a bit of a wait. So that was on the 11th. She was due on the 18th, the following Friday. That came and went, nothing happened. I'm just going to go and get her because I think she's waking. And here she is. Hello, say hi. Say hi. This is Lily. Little Lily. Our little Littles, aren't you? Mwah. I'll talk more about her in a minute, but I might try and just rock her off. So if you can hear some patting, I'm doing the good old mum bum pat because it works with her. The Friday came and went, and then the Saturday morning I got up and I went to the toilet and I wiped away what I thought was maybe a bit of a show. Now with Holly, I had a proper full-on show, fresh blood, everything, and it was very evident that stuff was happening. But with Lily, I was a bit like, is this a show? It was very much a bit brown, old blood, and so I was kind of a bit like, I'm not sure if it is or I'm not sure if it's not. So I rang the midwife. She said, no, I think it is. I think things are starting to happen. So we thought, right, I'm gonna stay on my feet. I'm gonna get moving. I don't want things to slow down. I want this baby out soon. So we went to a little Christmas market because they were still allowed at that time, and came back. What's up? What's the matter? Yeah, I came back from the Christmas market. I sat and watched Strictly, and then that was the night that that Boris announced that the Christmas plans had changed. So if you're watching this in future, the date today is the 14th of January. We are in lockdown number 3 in the UK, and just on that Saturday, Boris Johnson announced that Christmas plans were totally going to change. So we weren't able to spend Christmas with the people we thought we'd be able to spend Christmas with anymore. So I contacted my mum and I said, look, I think the rules changed so you could actually see 2 households just on Christmas Day, and that was it. My mum and my dad are our support bubble anyway, our childcare bubble at the time, so we could see them whenever. So I basically rang her and said, look, just because this baby's coming now, and we'll be here before Christmas, please don't feel like you have to spend Christmas with us. If you want to see my brother and his wife, because that's gonna be the only time you see them, please, you know, go. Then I had a mad panic thinking, that's all well and good, we have no Christmas food in. So that Saturday night, Chris went to Lidl and did a bit of a Christmas shop so that we had Christmas food in just in case we were alone on Christmas Day. And I was like, just, you know, go. He said, I'll keep my phone on. I was like, I'm fine. By this point I was having contractions, but they were nothing to write home about. They were absolutely fine. They were like little twinges, and that was it. So we were all good with that, weren't we? Do you want to feed? I might just stop and feed her a second. I should get used to this, shouldn't I? Planning to do something and then actually not being able to do it because I'm now a mum of 2. Yeah, so Chris went off and did a little shop and came back, still fine. I was watching the Strictly final, all fine. And I thought, right, I'm going to go to bed. Definitely, things are happening. I'm definitely getting contractions. So I'm going to go to bed and see if I can get some sleep while I can. So I popped off to bed. This must have been maybe about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I don't really feel like I slept that much. I feel like I kept waking up in a bit of pain. And then about 20 past 1, I came downstairs and I thought, right, these are strong now. I need to time these. So I use the Freya app to time my contractions, and that is part of the Positive Birthing Company's app. I will link their Instagram and their website below because they're brilliant. Basically what they're aiming to do is to make hypnobirthing accessible for people, and they do an online course for £39, hypnobirthing course. I didn't do it this time, but I cannot tell you how amazing that app was for me. I genuinely think it changed just the app changed my birthing experience. So I would advise anybody who's having a natural birth to download that app and use that app for timed contractions, and it tells you when to breathe. It teaches you how to breathe through your surges and counts your breathing for you. And what else does it do? Oh, and it plays meditation music. It talks you through like lovely affirmations. Why are you wet? Huh? Why are you wet? What's wet for? Okay. Third time lucky doing this video. Oh, I've got my glasses on this time. I'll keep the glasses on. Yeah, I've tried to do this video for like 2 hours now. She's finally asleep, so let's just, you know. Do you know what? I'll take my glasses off actually because the reflection of the window. Anyway, so where was I? I was chatting to you about the Freya app, Positive Birthing Company. If you fancy doing some hypnobirthing but you can't afford a couple of £100 that sometimes the courses run at, take a look at their website and like their Instagram. I will link them below. I think it's just brilliant, and I really feel like the app massively helped me with this birth. With Holly's birth, I think I was in labour from the very start to finish 36 hours. I think I was probably in established labour for over 24 hours. So it was quite long and it was quite tiring. And I just assumed that this would go the same way. How silly of me. So I came downstairs, started timing the contractions, and they were pretty full on and pretty painful. So Chris then figured out that I'd woken up and he came downstairs with me, and I just said, you know, my main concern is getting mum over to have Holly, because this was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So Chris said, well, let's do that sooner rather than later. Let's get your mum round. So rang mum about 2 in the morning. Mum and dad were here by about 2:30 probably. And by this point I was properly pacing. I was hanging onto the walls. I was having very strong contractions. But the midwife had said, you need to wait until your contractions are a minute each. Was it each a minute apart? I think that was it. Oh, no, sorry, a minute long. And my contractions are a bit kind of funny, and they were the same with Holly. They were like, some of them were a minute long, and then some of them weren't quite, and then some of them were. And I just thought, no, do you know what? We're going in, because the thought of the drive was about half an hour drive from for us to the nearest hospital. The thought of that drive, sorry, if I'm making you giddy, I'm just rocking so that she stays asleep. Making everybody dizzy. Thought of that drive was like, oh my gosh, I can't even, I knew I wouldn't be able to bear it if I was in any more pain than I was in. So we got going, and we must have kind of got going about 3:15 in the morning, I reckon, or 3:10. And I was climbing the windows in the car. I was in that much pain with my contractions. And I remember thinking that I was nowhere near in this amount of pain with Holly until I was like in the delivery room ready to go. Not necessarily ready to push, but I was definitely in established labour. I was definitely like 6 centimetres or something. Because that's when I asked for an epidural with Holly. So we got to the hospital. They said come to the day assessment unit, and we will assess you to see how far gone you are, and bear in mind it might be that you have to go home. And all I can remember thinking is, if they tell me to go home, oh sweet Lord, I will kill somebody. Because I was just in that much pain. And I got on the bed, and I managed to get on the bed somehow. And she examined me, and she was like, okay, so you're 6 centimetres. So I'm going to ring through to delivery, and you're going to go straight up to delivery. And they'll have a bed for you. So she came back in, and she said, right, I've called them, let's go up. She said to me, can you walk? And I was like, I think so. I couldn't even think. I was in so much pain, to be honest. And she was like, right, well, we'll try and walk up. And I was like, actually, no, I couldn't even get my trousers back on. So Chris had to get my trousers back on for me. She said, do you know what, let's pop you in a wheelchair. So we went in a wheelchair, contracting all the way up to the ward. And I remember passing a really lovely lady who I know from my husband's hometown. And she knows me from doing theatre stuff. And she just looked at me and she was like, oh my gosh, hello. And I was just like, hi, mooing like a cow. I didn't even want to speak to her. I didn't want to stop, just wanted to get in that room, and I wanted to get drugs in me now. So we got in the room, and midwife they were just kind of doing their bits and pieces, they're chatting. I was like, I want an epidural. This is the point I had an epidural. In my head, I was thinking, this is the point I had an epidural with Holly, and I still had 6 hours before I was ready to push, if not more. I can't do this for 6 hours. This is unbearable. And I remember I said, I want an epidural, and the midwife was like, okay. And nobody really said anything. And in my head, I was kind of thinking, why are they not ringing the anaesthetist? I can't say that word. Anaesthetist, and yeah, the person that administers the epidural. And I was just like, why aren't they ringing them? I want it. It wasn't until after that Chris basically said, I knew you weren't going to get it, from their reaction, essentially. So they got me on the bed. I just said, I just want to take my clothes off. Can I get my clothes off? So I was taking my clothes off. I left my bra on. But I was naked apart from that, and led on the bed, and they were kind of talking to me, and I was just, the midwife basically said to me, look, I know you're in a lot of pain, but sometimes the best way to get rid of this pain is to have a baby. I know you want the epidural, but let's see really how far you are along. She said, I think you're further than 6 centimetres. Now, bear in mind, this was only about 15 minutes before that I was 6 centimetres. And so I said, I need something, and they gave me gas and air. That's better. You can see Lily now. Ah. So I just tilted you down a bit because I realised you couldn't see her. Excuse my disgusting carpet. We're not having those replaced until kids are older, and we've probably moved out of this house, to be fair. Where was I? Yeah, my gas and air story with Holly was quite funny. I immediately threw it up. I took a kind of a drag of it, and I immediately threw it up. So in my head, I was like, well, I can't have gas and air. Definitely can't have gas and air because I just threw it up immediately. Chris just kind of looked at me, held my hand, and came in really close to me and just said, just try it. And later on, he basically said he knew that I wasn't going to get anything else. He knew that the midwives were thinking, she's really close, she's not going to get any more pain relief, this is all she's going to get. So he basically was kind of trying to persuade me to just take the gas and air, just to try it, just see how you get on. And it was amazing this time round. Oh my gosh. I genuinely am thinking, if I'm ever in pain for anything else in my life, I'm just going to get some gas and air and have it lying around the house ready, because it was amazing. And I remember the midwife saying, oh, you're doing really well on that gas and air. And I think I just turned around and said to her, yeah, but I feel like I'm off my face or something like that, which I did. I just felt like, whoo. But it was good stuff. It just managed to just keep those contractions a little bit, they were just a little bit easier. It was still painful, but they were a little bit easier. So the midwife examined me, and she said, right, sweetheart, I think you're 8 centimetres, but I also think you might be fully dilated. You're either 8 centimetres or fully dilated. So just have this next contraction, and then I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to go in and have a look again. I mean, I don't know, bless them. I don't know why they apologise, because at this point you just don't care. The contractions hurt so much, you just don't care what they're doing down there. So I had my contraction. When that passed, she had a look and she's like, right, yeah, you're fully dilated. So, right, and then this next contraction, I want you to push. And I just remember thinking in my head, what? What? I mean, what? Because I'd literally been in the delivery room for probably about 25 minutes. And yeah, three big pushes and out she came. So we got to the hospital at 3:45. She was born at 4:43. So just shy of an hour after we got to the hospital, she came into the world. And yeah, it was a bit of a mad time. And I remember I rang my mum, who was here with Holly, and I can remember just being really calm and just, my mum was like, oh no, you're not on your way home, are you? And I was like, no, it's over, it's done. She said, what? And I was like, yeah, you've got another little granddaughter. And she couldn't believe it. It was just super, super quick. I did tear, I had a 2nd degree tear, so they had to stitch me up. And so yeah, it was totally different experience with Holly, where I had an epidural and Holly was born by Von-2s, whereas this one was just gas and air and straight out. They do say a 2nd is quicker, but I was like, are you taking the mick? This is a lot quicker. So yeah, and then what happened next? So we were left in the delivery room with baby and me and Chris, just to relax and chill for a bit. They brought me some tea and some toast, but I felt quite sick, so I couldn't really eat much. I think they gave me something for anti-sickness. I'm not entirely sure, some paracetamol or something. And then we had I had a bath in there, and then eventually they moved us up to the Mary ward, which is where you go when you've had your baby. Now she had done a poo inside, so we had to be monitored for at least 12 hours to make sure that her obs were okay. So they were checking her temperature and they were checking, what else were they checking? Heart rate, quite frequently. And then after the 12 hours of her having clear obs, we could go home. So when we got up to the ward, Chris actually had to leave us then because visiting hours weren't until 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. and this was about 9:30 in the morning. So he had to make himself scarce for like an hour and a half and then come back. And obviously because of COVID, all of that was really strict. So yeah, we just kind of spent the time then having observations done on her. I kind of remember thinking that nobody really, there wasn't a lot done on me. I wasn't checked a lot. I remember with Holly, my blood pressure was checked a lot. I remember feeling really looked after, and I didn't feel that this time. Now, whether that's because it's my 2nd, whether it's because they're stretched on their ward because of COVID, I don't know. I just didn't feel very looked after, really. Was hoping to go home at 5 p.m. because obviously she was kind of born at 5 a.m. We thought 12 hours would be 5 p.m. Because her temperature was a little under until 11 o'clock, when it then started to get a bit normal. We had to wait until 11 p.m. to be able to go home because they do 12 hours of clear obs. So from when they're happy with her temperature and her heart rate, then it's been monitored for 12 hours from then. So that was a bit of a blow, and that was a bit annoying because it meant that Chris would have to go because obviously 5 o'clock was the cut-off for visiting hours. There was a couple in a bed opposite us who were going through a bit of a hard time, bless them, and the husband was staying in a little bit longer that day to wait for some results from the baby. So the midwife said, you know, Chris can stay a little bit longer as well. So I think he eventually went about 6, half 6, and from that moment on was a bit like hell. It was good for about an hour and a half. She was sleeping. I rang my mum, I FaceTimed my cousin, and we were kind of just having a bit of a chat, and it was all felt really good. And then she woke and she was just cluster feeding, but really not, I don't even think it was cluster feeding. She just wouldn't settle. I had stitches, I was in quite a lot of pain. I think my massive trauma to my body, obviously, which childbirth is anyway, but the fact that she came so quick was quite traumatic for my body. And then it topped it all that I had an absolute rotter of a midwife. Basically, I think they knew that I wanted to go home. They suggested that I stay overnight, and I didn't want to do that because obviously I didn't have Chris with me, and I just didn't want to be on my own. So I said no, I'd rather. He came back and got me. They said, well, we'll let you go at 10 o'clock then rather than 11. And from about 8 o'clock, it was a nightmare. I was asking for people to fill my water up, and nobody filled my water up. And anybody who's breastfed knows, gosh, as soon as you get that baby on, you're so thirsty. Nobody was doing that. Then somebody did, and they took my water bottle away and they gave it to somebody else. So that came back, and I had to obviously not have any of that because of COVID. And I had to go in a plastic bag and come home to be washed on a high wash in the dishwasher. But the main thing was this midwife was just really horrible. I think they were trying to get me out really quick. And I think because I'd had a baby before, they felt maybe like she doesn't need much help. I remember her telling me all these things about what might happen overnight, what I need to look out for the baby. I need to think about sepsis, I need to think about this, I need to think about that. And I remember her telling me all this when I genuinely I had a screaming baby on me, trying to feed her. The midwife didn't offer to help me at all. She was just sprouting all the stuff off at me, and I can just remember thinking, oh my God, when I'm gonna get home, my baby's gonna die because I'm not listening to what she's saying, and I need to, and I'm not listening to the things that she's telling me, and I need to look out for this and that and this and that. It was horrendous. And to top it off, I'd been saying to the midwives, look, last time with Holly, I had to have injections in my tummy for blood clots because of my high BMI. And they were like, oh yeah, oh okay, yeah, you'll need that again then. So it's a good job I said that, because I don't know if they would have actually given me them. But she sent me home without them, which she shouldn't have done. And she basically said I need to go to my local birthing centre, ring them in the morning, and they will have the injections for me. But give them a ring before I go, because there's no point me going down there if they're not in yet. But I wasn't taking any of that in, and I said to her, can you please repeat what you said about the injections, because I was trying to feed her. I was uncomfortable. I couldn't even pull myself up on the bed, and I never got any offer of help from her. And I just said to her, can you repeat what you said? And she just looked at me, she said, didn't think you were listening. And had I been a bit more savvy and not just had a baby, I probably would have given her a bit of what for. But yeah, it wasn't the case of me not listening. It was the case of I didn't have the capacity. I was trying to do too many things. And I think that's when it really hit me that how much dads do and help out. Because if Chris was there, one, he'd have been listening to that as well as me. Two, he'd probably been helping me move me up. Three, he'd have been getting me my water for me. I take my hat off to all the women who have done this. They've been in that hospital for longer. Although all the women that I've spoken to from around here that had their babies at the same hospital that I did, who were in for longer without husbands and partners, they've said that it was a brilliant experience. So I just think they were trying to rush me out the door, get me out, get me going home. And I just think it was luck of the draw, and I had a bad midwife. The rest of the midwives were lovely. The midwives that delivered her were so, so lovely. So yeah, that was really our experience. And we came home, and that was a hellish night because she didn't really settle until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And all I can remember thinking was, what have we done? What have we done? This is just horrific. The guilt I felt for Holly, having to share her parents with this little tiny human that she didn't ask for. That guilt stuck with me for probably about 2 weeks. I'd probably say the first 3 weeks have been really, really hard. Obviously then we've been gone into lockdown number 3 in the UK. Luckily, thank goodness, thank God, we are allowed our support bubbles this time, because if I didn't have the opportunity to have my mum's help and my dad's help, it would be so hard. It would be so hard. So that, in a nutshell, was our birth story. So yeah, she was supposed to come by C-section. She was 2 days late in the end. She was born on the Sunday morning. And she flew into the world, basically. But it has taken me a long time to heal from that birth. I think longer than I did with Holly. Probably because we also have a toddler and everything. I've been much more emotional this time. You know, one, because I'm thinking of Holly, two, because we're in this horrible situation. You know, I cannot believe that in the time that we've been going through this pandemic, we have conceived, grown and birthed a actual human, and we're now in a worse situation that we were in when we conceived her. It's just the worst, you know, point of COVID in the UK at the moment. But we're hopeful because we have 2 vaccines now and they are rolling them out, and hopefully this is going to be the last lockdown. But yeah, so it's been the crazy weird time. I think this is the first week I feel like we're kind of settling into a bit of a routine. Holly is still going to nursery, which I don't feel 100% comfortable about, but I know she needs it. She needs routine. I think that's when things started to change for us, when she started to get back to her routine. My mum started to have her again on the days that she would have her, and it felt a bit more normal for Holly. So that's when it kind of turned a corner for us, because her behaviour's been pretty shocking for a couple of weeks. And that made me think, what have we done? What have we done? This poor girl. So it's been challenging, it's been tough, but we have this amazing little bundle of joy who is just so cute. And, you know, she's a really good girl. She's, touch wood, touching everything. She's sleeping well. She's feeding well. I have had mastitis, which was horrid. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I'll do another video on that, I think, and about some tips with regards to healing from mastitis and things like that. But yeah, so that's our birth story, and this is our little Lily, who's dozy now. So anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble on. I hope I haven't rambled for too long and been too boring. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. It's totally free. And please do share it about, if you know somebody who is going to be having a baby anytime soon and you think that it'd be helpful for them to watch this video, then please share it about. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon for another little video. I hope you're all doing well in this awful time. Sending so much love through my lens to you, and strength. We will all get through this, but we just have to grit our teeth for now and just see this last bit out until we can get those jabs in our arms. I, for one, cannot wait to get mine. But yeah, sending so much love, and we'll see you soon. So it's bye from me and bye from Lily Littles. Say bye. Bye. Bye.